Welcome now to our In Focus discussion tonight. Utah's homeless population, it's diverse, it's spread out. They can't always be near services that are meant to support them. We've seen it with today's clearing of the Fleet Block homeless camp, obviously Operation Rio Grande. Very, very big operation that a lot of people are still talking about today. So we want to talk about people helping people suffering from homelessness where they are. Joining us now is Tiffiny Gregory, the Clinical Operations Director from the 4th Street Clinic, to talk about their mobile health services, including COVID-19 vaccinations. Tiffiny, thank you for being with us tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so talk about the mobile health services that you're offering right now. I guess the first question is, what are they and why do you offer them?
Sure. So at 4th Street Clinic, we primarily serve homeless individuals, and we recognize that they're oftentimes service resistant or there are additional barriers to receiving care. And so we launched our mobile services a few years back to reach those populations of people that have those additional barriers or challenges to getting into our brick and mortar building downtown.
What difference is it making offering mobile versus having a fixed location as your only service area?
We are able to provide services of where they're at. We sometimes recognize that they're not going to seek those services out, and so if we can take it to them and meet them where they're at, they're more inclined to accept those services and follow up and take interest in their health care.
Obviously, the big issue here is the vaccine. Has your mobile care helped get vaccines to those who may not otherwise have sought you out?
Yeah, so as we were gearing up to address the COVID response, and then as vaccines were becoming available, our mobile team became instrumental in working with our community partners and getting those vaccines out into the community at those various locations like the resource centers, and being able to work with those partners and getting those mass vaccine clinics up and going and getting administered.
Do you feel like it's more successful to have that brick and mortar or the clinic in mobile services as far as getting vaccines to those who need them, or is it just a supply issue where if you had more, you'd be able to do more and you'd figure it out? I mean, I guess the question is, do you have enough vaccines? And then the other question is, which do you think is better for distributing those vaccines?
I think it takes both to reach this population, actually, in that we have individuals, again, because of barriers or challenges, they are not able to navigate the community to seek out those services like the vaccines. And so us being able to take it to them has been instrumental in that, whereas we have other individuals that don't have as many barriers and are able to come to the brick and mortar. So I think it's a complement of each other. And we are continue to work with our local health departments as well as our direct allocation sources to get those vaccines that we need in clinic and have done so successfully.
So why did you decide that you needed to go where the homeless population was to get the vaccinations and health care? I mean, I know it almost sounds like common sense, but at some point somebody has to make that decision. It requires money, it requires coordination. That means your people need to get involved. So what was sort of the tipping point where you're like, we just really need to go mobile?
Yeah, we learned early on that really to reach them where they're at is the most successful approach for this. There's barriers to transportation, there's barriers to navigation around the community if they are able to use public transportation. And so going to where they are at raises the interest, the awareness, and ultimately getting them connected with services.
What are you learning during this pandemic that you feel like is going to inform how you operate going forward? Perhaps necessity being the mother of invention. This has been an uncomfortable year for everybody. What have you been pushed to do that now you might be realizing is very helpful or more efficient? And maybe especially as it relates to mobile, but the floor is yours on that one.
Yeah, we've learned that we may not have all the answers, but we are flexible and we can pivot to meet those demands and those needs of our community, especially serving the homeless individuals. We've learned that street medicine is a vital part in connecting individuals to services as well, going into those areas that our mobile clinic isn't able to go to or isn't physically able to go to or not scheduled to go to really link those individuals into care and then bringing them into a comprehensive fold. Both with vaccines as well as ongoing medical care.
A lot of folks talk about the homeless population. You're on the front lines trying to help people and change lives, and I'm sure it's exhausting work. Has this been a tough year for your team?
It has. I mean, we've had lots of conversations about staff burnout and morale and things like that. And we're very fortunate that we are a close-knit group, and we can talk about those hard issues and find ways to boister and work through some of those more difficult moments and frustrations that arise.
Speaking of frustrating, Johnson & Johnson now not in the picture. I know that rural communities and homeless populations, that was sort of a goal, right? Because it's a one shot. Reaction to the Johnson & Johnson vaccine and that temporary, pause for now.
Yeah, we follow the FDA and the CDC guidelines, and so we have paused in administering those vaccines, and we will continue to follow their guidelines. We've taken this opportunity to follow up with those patients who have received the Johnson & Johnson, just to make them aware of these rare but possible side effects, and then just continue to be in contact with them.
Okay, Tiffany, well, we appreciate your time. We know you're very busy. Clinical Operations Director of the 4th Street Clinic. More to come. I'm sure we'll speak to you again in the future. And thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks for staying with us for our second In Focus discussion tonight on mobile services for the homeless population. Let's get right back to it. Joining us now are Renee Shaw from the Open Mind Foundation. And via Zoom, Debbie Thielen, also from the Open Mind Foundation. Debbie, I hope I pronounced your last name all right?
Thielen, yes.
Thielen, okay. Thank you both for being with us.
Thanks for having us.
Okay. Debbie, if you wouldn't mind, starting, tell us your story to your level of comfort, how you came to suffer from homelessness.
Well, my son was in the service industry. We had lived with him and a roommate, and they lost their jobs through COVID. And when they went back to work, they weren't able to make the same amount of money to contribute with. We got behind, and our landlords gave us a way out of our contract, and we took it. So my son went and lived with a neighbor, and I went to LA where I could survive the winter in my car. So when I was there, I was hospitalized, and when I was leaving the hospital, I was given some paperwork, and in it, they were concerned about me living in my car. They had given me resources of the Showers of Hope and a safe parking lot with laundry services weekly. And that really enabled me to work to get back on my feet.
Oh my goodness. Showers of Hope sounds like more than just a shower, I guess. And I know that you're here to talk about it, and that's why we're having you, because it is such a great organization. But how did you find Showers of Hope? How did you bring it to Utah? And it sounds like if folks don't have a physical address, but they have this foundation upon which to build and go out to the world and apply for a job and just feel like they are a member of society that is totally on par with everybody else. And of course, I'm just rambling on here, but I can imagine it sounds so simple to have the shower and a place to just refresh, but it's also sort of profound. But I'd like to ask you about all that, and maybe you could talk about the impact, Renee.
Debbie, did you want to answer that, or do you want me to answer that?
Renee or Debbie. I just, it sounds like such an awesome organization, and I feel like you should probably explain it and not have me try to explain it.
Okay. Well, Debbie and I have been friends for 15 years, and I had no idea she was even homeless and living in LA in her car. And she called me up, and she was sharing with me some of her adventures. And then one day she said she was on the Kelly Clarkson show, and that the Showers of Hope had helped her come out of homeless and get a really good job. She's doing really well, and I was just so inspired by the whole idea and watching the Kelly Clarkson show and seeing what they provided for the homeless, that both she and I were like, one day we had an epiphany, and we were like, we should bring them to Utah. So that's why we're here. The Open Mind Foundation cares for, our motto is opening our minds and hearts to the care of humanity. So it fits under our umbrella as one of our programs perfectly. And so we're raising the funds right now for our first trailer, and we will have the trailers throughout the city in 7 different locations, and we'll be partnering with other programs like meals and toiletries, clothes, and then also we will be a hub for a pathway out of homeless by also having resources for mental health issues, substance abuse issues, and eventually housing. And then also down the road, we're working with others who want to create tiny house villages. So we have affordable housing options for the homeless, because a lot of them actually have jobs. Amazingly enough, a lot of them have jobs, they just can't afford a place, especially here in Salt Lake City right now where the housing is so expensive. So.
Having been born in Utah, growing up, you didn't think of Utah as a really high cost place to live, but boy, have times changed. So,
absolutely.
Could we just talk about the basic, like, why is a shower so important? I know you have all these goals, and it's a very complicated thing to try to get through the layers of people's lives and help them at every point that they need help. But gosh, what is the power of a shower? Like, why? It's a part of your organization that you're bringing here. Talk about that.
I know for me, when I take a shower, I just feel really good, and water is kind of healing if you want to, you know, speak in a spiritual manner, but also I think it's just, you just feel good about life, and you feel like, you feel good when you look in the mirror and you've done your hair. I know with women, and we just smell good. When I don't smell good, I don't want to be around anybody, and I'm definitely not going to go on and get a job, right? So what do you think, Debbie? How do they help you?
Well, I know being out there, it's really tough with your hygiene. You don't even think about the sores and sweat getting into that, and the daily struggle. We didn't even, there wasn't electricity provided, so I didn't get to drive to the whole experience that you're talking about, enjoying. And even that is just essential. And it was essential for me to be able to feel like I had the dignity to go and apply for jobs and show up for work. And you just don't think about that as a basic necessity.
Well, from what I understand from what you were telling me when you were going through all this, you just felt like there was a family there to support you at these showers. So they're not just, you know, physical needs. They make the people feel, and we want to implement this here in Salt Lake, feel like they're normal and they're special, like this is a family. And I know one of the people that we interviewed in LA when we went down there to learn how to bring them here and learn the ropes, she said that there was the spirit of love that helped bring her up out of her depression that she experienced at these hubs.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Do we have time for final thoughts, Eric? Okay. Eric, the producer, is saying it's time to wrap this up. But Debbie Thielen, Renee Shaw, fascinating to speak with you both of the Open Mind Foundation.
Thank you.
Wishing you the best of luck. Gosh, Debbie, thank you for sharing your story. We here, we'll be right back. And welcome to our third and final In Focus discussion tonight. It's on mobile services for the homeless population. Joining us now is Ksenia Knazeva. Beautiful name. I didn't want to butcher it. You're founder of the Nomad Alliance. Where did the concept of the Nomad Alliance come from?
Initially, it began as a response to these abatements, the horrific displacement of humans back in December. And so I just felt like I needed to act, and so started with a Facebook post, and within 24 hours, we'd acquired a whole truckload of donations. And then that was on 12/12. And then 2 days later, we had 10 truckloads with firewood and boots and everything that they could possibly want, serving Camp Last Hope at the time. And I have been homeless in different periods of my life, and I always somehow prefer to really be around the nomadic community. I just feel like they're so full of love and so much integrity in many respects and resilience. And so I have a lot of nomadic friends and who've been very dear to me. So I really wanted to give back, and we have this incredible tribe of people working together. We've done all sorts of things, from 16 supply drives with 15 truckloads of hygiene or clothing, or we did a shower the last few times. There it is right there. It was hailing the day that we did it. We pioneered this little, very podunk shower. But you know, we want to execute and do what we can right now to give whatever we can right now. We've also started a nomadic mechanic service promoting entrepreneurship amongst the nomadic community. Met a man who was on his second day in the streets, and he had been a mechanic for 40 years. So now now we're getting him appointments and driving him directly to people's driveways to perform a variety of, mechanic services. And we're really happy to report that this week Monday and Tuesday, we just placed 10 young men and women in a job paying $15.50 an hour with Wise Solutions. So we're trying to do a lot of different things, tiny house community as well. But I apologize, I'm rambling.
No, and I'm just listening. So the idea of Nomad is so fascinating. I want to go there, but I guess maybe talk a little bit more about the services you provide. I think you've described it as trunk or treat. A
trunk or treat, exactly. People get to feel full of abundance because they go and they can get whatever hygiene they want, whatever clothes they want. We comment that some girls come up and they try on clothes and show each other and then walk away looking like Instagram models. And I heard earlier when you interviewed the woman about their mobile shower concept that, there is such an importance to being clean and having clean clothes and how much that does for your self-respect. So, and then we do employment, we do workshops, self-defense, employment workshops, meditation, and we're working as a coalition with the Village Cooperative and other entities to build a tiny house community, including the city, the council. I spoke with 2 members of the city council today about the concept, and we're heartened to see that Mayor Mendenhall has said by November that we're going to finally have a tiny house community in Salt Lake.
As humans, I think we all have so many different needs. Has there been something that you've found that can make the most difference? Is it a kind word? Is it a toiletry? Is it a shower?
Love.
At a small level, love.
Yeah, love. Hugs, a listening ear. A lot of the nomads, we do these lives where we have conversations with our friends on the street, and our community is able to listen in. And that opportunity to really see, hey, this could happen to any one of us. We're all maybe one emergency away from being homeless ourselves, and you don't know what could happen to you. You don't know what the future holds. So just treating them like human beings, whether it's, mobile shower and a woman nearly cried, to helping them, move their things during an abatement, to giving them an opportunity to be employed, and all of them want to work. All of them want to be out of the situation. It's not a happy space, but life hits us in a variety of ways, and some just get hit harder.
It's been a humbling year for so many people, so I think that message resonates. Ksenia, what are your biggest challenges?
Finances. I mean, we do a lot with very, very little. We're very new. We're only about 4 months old. We recently received our 501c3 status, so any donations would be very gratefully appreciated. But also the city, we have everything set to go to build tiny house communities tomorrow. And the problem is land and the zoning. And while the city council has been very cognizant and communicative with us, the mayor's office is a little bit more mum and difficult to get a hold of. So we are working as a coalition. I think this is something that a lot of different groups are trying to promote. Everyone deserves the right to a home. Everyone deserves the right to have their things be kept safe, the right to be in peace and not fear a big dump truck taking your things. One of the girls that we just got employed yesterday said, hey, I was at work, I didn't know there was an abatement. I came back, I lost everything, including my medications. And those aren't easy to replace. Another guy had an abscess, came out of the hospital, all his things were thrown out. So, the current solution and the current paradigm isn't working for any one of us, and it's making the city look bad. So, let's work together to really treat human beings like human beings, because it could be any one of us.
Well, thank you for all that you do on the front lines of these city streets, trying to make a difference person by person. Ksenia, thank you so much. All right, founder of the Nomad Alliance.
Yeah. Thank you, ABC4, for having me on. Really appreciate your time and you shedding light on this very important issue.
Awesome. Thank you.